they say no one falls out of love overnight. I used to believe that. Now, I'm not so sure. My name's Adam. I'm 37, married to Claire for nearly 10 years. For most of that time, we were solid. A normal couple, I guess, two people with careers, a small circle of friends, the occasional vacation we'd save up for. We had a little house in the suburbs, a lazy tabby cat named Milo, and an understanding that life, while not always exciting, was stable. Maybe that was the problem. Claire had always been the romantic one between us. She loved poetry, old books, vintage postcards. Her favorite pastime was collecting antique letters, those faded papers with elegant loops and heartfelt words. I didn't get it, but I loved watching her eyes light up when she found a new gem in a dusty shop. It started with one of those letters. About a year ago, Claire joined an online forum for vintage letter collectors. I thought it was harmless, even sweet, her finding her tribe. Then she started getting messages. First from women, then a few men. And then, from him. Peter. I first heard the name in passing. Peter sent me a link to a letter archive in Scotland, she'd say. Or, Peter thinks this poem I found might have been written by Keats. Peter was just a fellow enthusiast. At least, that's what I believed. Weeks turned into months. Claire spent more time on her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard late into the night. When I'd come home from work, I'd find her already in the sunroom, the soft hum of her notifications filling the silence. I'd kiss her cheek, she'd smile absently, eyes still glued to the screen. One evening, curiosity got the better of me. "Who's Peter?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Oh, just a friend from the forum. He's a history teacher. We both love 19th century poetry." That should have been enough. But something lodged in my gut that night, a quiet unease I couldn't shake. Soon after, I noticed changes. Claire started dressing differently, blouses she hadn't worn in years, subtle makeup during the day. I chalked it up to her rediscovering herself, maybe feeling good about this new hobby. But it wasn't just that. She laughed more when reading her screen. She started quoting poems I hadn't heard her mention before. And the way she clutched her phone when a message came through, it wasn't the behavior of someone casually chatting about antique paper. Then came the letters. One rainy Saturday, I found a stack of envelopes in her desk drawer. My hand shook as I opened one. "Dearest Claire," it began. "Your words light my mornings and haunt my dreams at night. You are the thought that lingers when the world grows dim." There was no mistaking the tone. I read 3 of them before the guilt overwhelmed me. I shoved them back, heart racing. The words circled in my mind like a dark cloud. That night, I confronted her. "I found Peter's letters," I said quietly over dinner. The fork clattered from her hand. She looked pale, eyes wide. "Adam, I held up a hand. "Just tell me the truth." Tears welled up as she confessed. It had started innocent enough, she said. A shared love of words. But the letters became more personal. And then, she met him. "He came into town last month for a conference," she whispered. "We met for coffee. It wasn't supposed to happen, Adam. I swear." But it had. The words unspoken between us confirmed everything. I felt like the air had been sucked from the room. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing how easily it had happened. How something as old-fashioned as a pen pal could unravel the life we'd built. I spent that night on the couch, Milo curled beside me, purring softly as if he could sense the storm in my chest. Claire cried herself to sleep upstairs. The next morning, I packed a bag. "I need time," I told her. "I can't look at you right now and pretend nothing's changed." She sobbed, begged me to stay. But the trust was shattered. I drove aimlessly for hours before ending up at a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. Alone, I stared at the cracked ceiling, replaying her words. It wasn't supposed to happen. Neither was this. The motel room smelled like stale cigarettes and cheap cologne. I barely slept that first night, my mind a relentless loop of why and how and what now. At dawn, I packed up and drove. No destination in mind, just the hum of the road beneath me. By noon, I found myself parked at a scenic overlook where Claire and I used to go in the early days. Back when life was simpler, when the only letters between us were scribbled love notes on napkins. I stared out over the valley, phone in hand. Messages from Claire filled the screen, pleas, apologies, declarations of love. I couldn't bring myself to respond. Not yet. By the third day, my brother Ben called. "You okay?" he asked, voice laced with concern. I told him everything. He listened in silence. "Come stay here," he said. "You shouldn't be alone right now." So I did. Ben's guest room became my refuge. Days turned into weeks. I went to work, came home, ate dinner with Ben and his wife, then lay awake until exhaustion forced sleep. Claire wrote every day. Emails, texts, handwritten letters slipped under Ben's door. I read each one, part of me hoping for a reason to believe again. But every line only deepened the ache. "You must hate me," one letter began. "But please know that meeting Peter wasn't about you. It was about me." I felt unseen, faded in the routine of our life. He made me feel alive. Alive. And what was I, then? A shadow? A placeholder? The harshest truth wasn't her affair. It was realizing I had failed to see her loneliness. While I'd been content with our quiet life, she'd been starving for something I hadn't known to give. Eventually, Ben convinced me to meet her. "If nothing else," he said, "you need closure. For both your sakes." So one gray Saturday morning, I agreed. We met at a park near our old house. Claire looked fragile, thinner. Her eyes were ringed with sleepless nights. My heart clenched despite everything. "I'm so sorry, Adam," she whispered, voice trembling. "I never meant to hurt you." I nodded. "I believe you. But you did." She swallowed hard. "Peter's gone. I ended it. I should have ended it before it began." I stayed silent. What could I say? No apology could undo the damage. I'd been seeing a counselor," she continued. "Trying to understand why I let it happen. I know I have no right to ask, but is there any chance for us?" I looked away, tears stinging my eyes. "Claire. I loved you more than anything. But trust isn't a switch you can flip. Right now, I don't even know who we are anymore." She crumpled then, sobbing. Instinctively, I reached out, pulling her close. For a moment, it felt like old times, two people leaning on each other. But the warmth was fleeting. "I need more time," I said, pulling back gently. "Maybe one day. But not now." She nodded through tears. "I'll wait. However long it takes." Weeks passed. I returned to our house eventually, needing to face what remained. Claire had moved to her sister's, leaving me space. The rooms felt hollow. Her scent still lingered on the pillows. Milo padded silently from room to room, searching for her. One night, I found a new letter on the kitchen table. Handwritten, no envelope. "Adam," it began. "I understand if this is the last letter you ever read from me. I only hope you remember the love we shared. You are the best man I've ever known. My mistake will haunt me forever. But whether or not we find our way back, know this, you made me feel truly loved. And I am sorry beyond words." I wept then, alone in the dim kitchen. Not for her, not entirely. For us. For what we had, and what we'd lost. It's been 6 months now. Claire and I meet for coffee sometimes. No promises, no expectations. Just two people trying to salvage something from the wreckage. I don't know if we'll find our way back to love. Maybe some things can't be rebuilt. But I've learned this much: trust, once broken, leaves scars that never fully fade. And sometimes, the hardest part of healing isn't forgiving them, it's forgiving yourself for not seeing it coming. For now, I take it one day at a time. I write letters of my own these days, not to Claire, not to anyone. Just to myself. Words I'll never send, but somehow need to write. Because sometimes, the hardest truths are the ones we whisper only to the page.